Lee Dong-wook walked through the long halls of Nexus Prime Station. His black shoes made soft sounds on the metal floor. Other beings moved around him. Some had blue skin and walked on four legs. Others looked like giant insects with shiny shells. A few floated in the air with no legs at all. This was his first time seeing so many different alien races in one place. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 6 months ago. Before that, humans thought they were alone in the universe. Now, Lee knew that thousands of different species lived among the stars. The meeting room was huge. It could hold 500 beings easily. Large windows showed the black space outside with tiny stars like diamonds. Lee took his seat at a small table marked with Earth's symbol. He felt very small in this big room. "The human representative may speak now," said the council leader. She was a Viridian, made of living crystal that changed colors when she talked. Her voice sounded like music played through water. Lee stood up. His hands were steady, but his heart beat fast. "Thank you, Council Leader Veltara. I am Lee Dong-wook, speaking for all humans on Earth and our colonies." Some aliens in the room made strange sounds. Lee had studied their languages, but still found it hard to understand their emotions. Dr. Kim So-jin sat behind him taking notes. She was Earth's best expert on alien cultures. Next to her, Captain Park Jin-ho watched everything with careful eyes. "We come here today to sign the Protection Treaty," Lee said. "This treaty will make clear which worlds belong to humans. It will also protect the aliens who live on our worlds now." Warlord Grixtal of the Talon Empire stood up. He was 8 feet tall with dark red skin and sharp teeth. His people were known as great fighters across the galaxy. "The humans speak of protection," he said with a voice like thunder. "But what can they protect? They have been in space for only 50 years. My people have ruled star systems for 3,000 years." Other aliens began to talk among themselves. Lee heard laughing sounds from the Keth Collective's section. They shared one mind among millions of bodies, so they all thought the same thoughts. To them, humans seemed simple and alone. "Warlord Grixtal," Lee said calmly, "we do not wish to rule anyone. We only want to protect those who live with us in peace." "Peace," Grixtal laughed. The sound was not pleasant. "You humans talk much about peace. But I see your colony worlds, rich planets with good soil and clean water. My empire needs these worlds. We will take them when we choose." The room became very quiet. Even the floating ethereals stopped moving in their gas clouds. Lee felt Dr. Kim So-jin touch his arm gently. She knew this moment was important. Lee looked directly at Warlord Grixtal. His voice was calm and clear. "We say this once. Do not injure those under Earth's protection." More laughter came from different parts of the room. The Keth Collective made clicking sounds that meant they found something funny. Some of the smaller species looked worried, but the big military powers seemed amused. "What will you do, human?" Grixtal asked. "Will you send your small ships to fight my war fleets? Will you threaten us with your tiny army?" Lee did not answer the question directly. Instead, he spoke to the whole council. "Humans have a long history. We have learned many things about war and peace. We prefer peace, but we protect our own." Council. Leader Veltara's crystal body flashed purple, which meant she was thinking hard. The human's words are noted in the official record. Does the Talon Empire accept the terms of the Protection Treaty? Warlord Grixtal made a gesture with his clawed hand that meant no in his culture. "My empire does not fear human words. We will take what we need. Your protection means nothing to us." Dr. Kim So-jin wrote everything down quickly. Captain Park Jin-ho memorized every face and every reaction. These details would be important later. "Then this council meeting is finished," said Veltara. "All species have heard the human position. The treaty remains unsigned." As the aliens began to leave, many of them looked at Lee with different expressions. Some seemed sorry for him. Others looked curious. The Talon delegation walked past with proud steps, their leader still laughing. A small being with gray skin and large eyes approached Lee's table. This was Healer Zeph from the medical cast. "Ambassador Lee," he said in careful English, My people respect your peaceful words. But the Talons are very strong. Perhaps it is better to give them what they want. Lee looked at the small healer with kind eyes. Thank you for your concern, Healer Zeph. But some things are more important than avoiding trouble. After most aliens had left, Dr. Kim So-jin came to Lee's side. That went exactly as we expected, she said quietly. They think we are weak. Captain. Park Jin-ho nodded. Good. Let them think that for now. Lee looked out the big windows at the stars. Somewhere out there were human colonies full of families. Children played in parks while their parents worked and lived normal lives. Alien refugees who had lost their own worlds had found new homes among humans. All of these people trusted Earth to keep them safe. Dr. Kim, Lee said, send a message to Admiral Song. Tell him the Talons rejected our warning. Should I use the regular communication channels? She asked. No, Lee replied. Use Protocol Aegis. Dr. Kim So-jin's eyes grew wider. Protocol Aegis was not just a communication system. It was a signal that would wake up things that had been sleeping in the dark spaces between stars. Things that most aliens did not know existed yet. As their small ship left Nexus Prime Station, Lee thought about the meeting. The aliens had laughed at his warning. They thought humans were young and weak and foolish. They would learn otherwise soon enough. Behind them, alien diplomats returned to their home worlds with stories of the amusing humans who spoke of protection, but had no power. These stories would spread across the galaxy very quickly. But other messages were also spreading through hidden networks that only humans knew about. Messages that said, "The warning has been given. Prepare for what comes next." The darkness of space, things began to move. The morning sun on Kepler 442b looked different from Earth's sun. It was a little more orange and cast warm light across the valley where New Busan colony sat. Han Jae-sung walked to work like he did every morning. The air smelled clean and fresh. Birds that looked almost like Earth birds sang in the trees that colonists had planted 20 years ago. New Busan was home to 50,000 humans and about 8,000 Kiltar refugees. The Kiltar looked like tall, thin people with pale blue skin and large, dark eyes. Their homeworld had been destroyed 5 years ago when their star went out. Humans had offered them shelter when no other species would help. Jae-sung worked as an engineer at the mining station outside town. The colony dug up rare metals that Earth needed for building starships. It was peaceful work on a peaceful world. His wife Yoon Hae-won taught school to both human and Kiltar children. Their daughter Han Yu-na was 8 years old and loved to draw pictures of the strange plants that grew on this world. "Papa, look," Yu-na called to him as he walked past the school playground. She held up a drawing of a purple flower with 6 petals. "Teacher Kilneth showed us how her people make art. She taught me the Kiltar way of drawing." Jae-sung smiled and hugged his daughter. Kilneth was one of the Kiltar teachers. She had lost her own children when their world died, but she found joy in teaching human and Kiltar children together. "That's beautiful, Yuna. Show it to your mother when she comes home." At the colony administration building, Choi Min-seo was having her morning meeting with the department heads. She had been the administrator of New Busan for 3 years. Before that, she worked on Mars helping to build the first big cities there. "The harvest reports look good," said the agriculture chief. "We'll have enough food for the winter, plus extra to trade with other colonies. The Kiltar families are settling in well," added the refugee coordinator. "Their children are learning Korean and English quickly. Some of the adults want to start their own businesses." Min-seo nodded. This was how things should be. Different. Species living together and helping each other. "Any word from Earth about the council meetings? Ambassador Lee sent a message yesterday," said the communications officer. "The Talon Empire refused to sign the protection treaty, but Earth Command says not to worry." Min-seo felt a small chill despite the warm morning. She had read reports about the Talon Empire. They were aggressive and took what they wanted by force, but New Busan was far from their main territory. Surely they would not bother with one small mining colony. Dr. Kim So-jin was visiting the colony to study how humans and Kiltar were living together. She wanted to write a report for Earth about successful integration programs. She spent her Mornings at the school watching classes and her afternoons interviewing families. The children adapt so quickly, Haiwan told her during lunch break. Human kids and Kiltar kids play the same games. They don't see the differences that adults worry about. What about the parents? Sojin asked. Most are happy. The Kiltar adults work hard and are grateful for the chance to build new lives. A few humans were worried at first, but that changed quickly when they got to know their new neighbors. That afternoon, everything changed. The first sign was the communication officer running into Minseo's office without knocking. Administrator, we have a problem. Long-range sensors show ships approaching the system. Minseo followed him to the communication center. The big screen showed 5 red dots moving toward their world. The computer identified them as Talon Empire warships. How long until they arrive? Minseo asked. 18 hours at their current speed. Minseo's mouth felt dry. Send an immediate message to Earth Command. Priority 1 emergency signal. The message would take 12 hours to reach Earth through the relay stations. Even if Earth sent help immediately, it would take days to arrive. New Busan was on its own. 6 hours later, the Talon ships were close enough to send messages. The face of a Talon military commander appeared on the main screen. His red skin was covered with scars and his teeth were filed to sharp points. Humans of this colony, the commander said. I am War Captain Thekmor of the Talon Empire. You will surrender this world to us immediately. Minseo stood in front of the communication screen. Her hands shook a little, but her voice was steady. This is Administrator Choi Minseo. This colony is under Earth's protection. We cannot surrender. To you, your protection means nothing, Thekmor laughed. But we are not here only for your world. We want the Kiltar refugees you harbor. They belong to us now. The Kiltar are free people under our protection. We will not hand them over to anyone. Thekmor's eyes grew angry. The Kiltar were marked for conquest before their world died. By law of the galaxy, they are property of the Talon Empire. You will give them to us, or we will take them. The screen went dark. Minseo looked around the room at her staff. Everyone was scared, but nobody talked about giving up. Send word to all families, she said. Emergency evacuation procedures. Get everyone to the underground shelters. Dr. Sojin helped coordinate the evacuation. She watched families hurry through the streets carrying bags and holding children's hands. Human and Kiltar families helped each other find safe places. Why do they want the Kiltar so badly? Haiwan asked as she led her students to the school shelter. Slave labor, Sojin said quietly. The Talons use conquered species as workers in their mines and factories. In the main shelter, hundreds of people waited in the artificial light. Children cried and parents tried to comfort them. Kiltar families huddled together, remembering the destruction of their first home. Yuna sat next to her Kiltar friend Velka. Don't worry, she told the older girl. My papa says humans always protect their friends. 12 hours after the first warning, the Talon ships began bombing the outer settlements. The ground shook and the lights flickered in the underground shelters. Minseo received reports of destroyed farms and mining equipment. They're not targeting the town center, said the military coordinator. Not yet. They want us alive, Minseo realized. Dead colonies can't mine metals for them. The bombing continued for 6 hours. When it stopped, scouts reported that 3 farming communities had been completely destroyed. 27 people were dead, and many more were hurt. Minseo opened communication with the Talon ships again. You have made your point, War Captain. What do you want? The same thing I wanted before, Thekmor said. Surrender the colony and give us the Kiltar, or we will begin bombing the main town. I need time to think. You have 12 hours. After that, we destroy everything. When the communication ended, Minseo sat down heavily in her chair. Around the galaxy, she knew other species were watching this happen. They would see how Earth responded to threats against their people. Dr. Sojin put a hand on her shoulder. What are you thinking? I'm thinking about what Ambassador Lee said at the council meeting. He told them once not to injure those under Earth's protection. Do you think Earth will come? Minseo looked at the faces of her people in the shelter. Humans and Chiltar sitting together, sharing food and comfort. Children from two different worlds playing quiet games to stay calm. They have to, she said, because if they don't, then our protection means nothing. And humans always keep their promises. Above them, the Talon warships waited in the dark sky like hungry predators. In 12 hours, they would learn whether human promises had any strength behind them. The galaxy was watching. Admiral Song Kyung-min stood in the command center deep inside Earth's moon. The room was hidden 3 kilometers under the lunar surface, where no alien sensors could detect it. Large screens showed star maps, ship positions, and communication, data from across human space. New Busan is under attack, reported Commander Bae-Soo Young. Talon Empire forces began bombing 6 hours ago. Administrator Choi reports 27 dead and counting. Song's face showed no emotion, but everyone in the room could feel his anger like heat from a fire. How long until their deadline? 6 hours, Admiral. Time to reach New Busan with conventional forces? 43 hours minimum, sir. Song nodded slowly. 43 hours would be too late. The Talons would have destroyed the colony or taken everyone as slaves. But conventional forces were not the only option Earth had prepared. Signal all fleet command stations, Song said. Protocol Aegis is now active. Throughout the solar system, hidden bases came to life. On the dark side of Mercury, massive doors opened in what looked like ordinary mining facilities. Behind Jupiter's moons, construction platforms that appeared to be building civilian space stations revealed their true purpose. In the asteroid belt, rocks that had drifted peacefully for years split apart to show the warships hidden inside. Colonel Lim Tae-hyun commanded Battle Group 7 from his flagship, the EDS Incheon. His ship was one of 50 dreadnoughts that Earth had built in secret over the past 10 years. Each one was 3 times larger than the biggest Talon warship. All ships report ready, Admiral, Tae-hyun said over the communication link. How long? To reach New Busan? Song asked. Using the skip drive engines, 4 hours and 30 minutes. The skip drive was Earth's biggest secret. While other species used jump gates that took days to travel between star systems, humans had developed engines that could fold space itself. The technology came from studying old alien wrecks found floating in Earth's outer solar system. Battle Group 7 will handle the Talon ships at New Busan, Song said. Battle Groups 1 through 6 will deliver messages to Talon military bases throughout their empire. On Earth, Intelligence Director Kwon Ji-won activated networks that had been years in the making. Hundreds of humans who lived and worked in alien space received coded messages. Most had been deep cover agents since before first contact with the galaxy. Park Min-joon worked as a trader on the Talon capital world. He had sold Earth goods there for 3 years while secretly mapping their military installations. When his hidden communicator buzzed, he knew the waiting was over. Lee Hae-jin ran a restaurant on a Talon colony world. Alien customers loved her Earth-style cooking. They had no idea she was a former military intelligence officer who had been photographing their ship designs and troop movements. Kim Dae-ho repaired communication equipment on Talon military bases. His work gave him access to their computer networks. For 2 years, he had been quietly placing monitoring programs in their systems. All across Talon space, these hidden agents began their real work. At New Busan Colony, the deadline was 3 hours away. War Captain Thekmore sent another message. To Administrator Choi Min-seo. Have you decided, human? Will you surrender the colony and the Kiltar refugees? Min-seo looked tired, but her voice was still strong. We cannot surrender people under our protection. Then you have chosen death. For your colony, the communication ended. Dr. Kim So-jin stood next to Min-seo in the command center. Any word from Earth? Nothing yet, Min-seo said. But they know what's happening. In the underground shelters, families waited together. Han Jae-sung held his wife Haiwan and daughter Yuna close. Around them, Kiltar families shared their fears and hopes with their human neighbors. Papa, Yuna whispered, will the bad ships go away? I think so, Jae-sung said. Earth will send help. Old Kilneth, the Kiltar teacher, heard him. You have much faith in your people. Humans protect their friends, Jae-sung said simply. It's what we do. 2 hours before the deadline, the Talon sensors detected something strange. Space itself seemed to twist and bend near the edge of the star system. Then 50 massive human warships appeared as if from nowhere. War Captain Thekmore stared at his displays in shock. Where did they come from? Our long-range sensors showed no approaching ships. Unknown, Captain, his navigation officer replied. They appeared without warning. The human fleet was enormous. Each ship was larger than anything in the Talon fleet. Strange energy patterns flowed across their hulls like living light. They moved with perfect coordination, forming a battle formation that surrounded the Talon ships completely. A communication signal came from the lead human ship. Colonel Lim Tae-hyun's face appeared on Thekmore's screen. War Captain Thekmore of the Talon Empire, Tae-hyun said calmly. You have attacked a colony under Earth's protection. You were warned not to do this. How did you get here so fast? Thekmore demanded. That is not important. What is important is that you leave this system immediately. Thekmore looked at his tactical displays. His 5 ships were completely surrounded by 50 human dreadnoughts. But Talon pride would not let him retreat without a fight. You cannot threaten the Talon Empire, he shouted. We fear no one. We are not threatening you, Tae-hyun replied. We are giving you a chance to leave peacefully. Never. Thekmore ordered his ships to attack. Talon weapons fired at the nearest human ship. The energy beams struck the human vessel's shields and simply disappeared, like raindrops hitting a way. Mountain, your turn, Tae-hyun said quietly. The human ships fired once. 5 precise energy beams reached out across space. They did not destroy the Talon ships completely. Instead, they disabled their engines, weapons, and communication systems. The Talon vessels drifted helplessly in space. War Captain, Tae-hyun said, your ships are now prisoners. Your crews will be returned to Talon space with a message for your leaders. What message? Thekmore asked through gritted teeth. The same message we gave at the Galactic Council. We say it once. Do not injure those under Earth's protection. On New Busan, the colonists felt the ground shake as Talon ships were captured high above them. Then Administrator Choi received a communication from Colonel Lim. New Busan Colony, this is Battle Group 7. You are safe. The threat has been removed. Cheers echoed through the underground shelters. Families hugged each other and cried with relief. Human and Kiltar children ran around laughing and shouting, but the response at New Busan was only the beginning. Across Talon space, other human battle groups appeared without warning at major military bases. They did not attack. Instead, they broadcast the same message to every Talon commander. The Talon Empire attacked those under Earth's protection. This was your warning not to repeat that mistake. The messages included detailed information about Talon military capabilities, base locations, and ship movements. Information that could only have come from deep inside Talon space. Admiral Song watched the reports come in from his command center. Every Talon military base had been visited by human ships. None had been attacked, but all had received the message. The Talon Empire now knew that Earth could strike anywhere in their territory at any time. Phase 1 complete, reported Commander Bay. All battle groups report successful message delivery. Good, Song said. Now we wait to see if they understood. Intelligence Director Kwan received reports from her agents throughout Talon space. Talon military leaders are in emergency meetings, she told Song. They're trying to figure out how. We knew where all their bases were. Let them wonder, Song replied. Sometimes not knowing how something happened is more frightening than knowing. Dr. Kim So-jin sent her report to Earth from New Busan. Colony secure. No civilian casualties during the rescue operation. Talon forces neutralized without destruction. Recommend continuing protection protocols for refugee populations. As news of the rescue spread throughout the galaxy, other species watched with surprise and interest. The humans had appeared at New Busan faster than any known technology could. Explain. They had surrounded and captured Talon warships without breaking their own promise to avoid unnecessary violence. But most importantly, they had kept their word. When they said they would protect those under Earth's protection, they meant it. The galaxy was starting to understand that human warnings were not empty threats. They were promises backed by capabilities that no one had suspected existed. 32. Question now was whether the Talon Empire would learn from this lesson, or if they needed a stronger demonstration of Earth's resolve. Warlord Grixtel smashed his fist on the metal table in his war room. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. Around him, his military advisors stood silent and afraid. Bad news had been arriving for 3 days straight. 50 ships, he roared. How do humans have 50 ships that size? Our spies said they had only patrol boats and cargo vessels. War leader, said his intelligence chief carefully. It appears the humans have been hiding their true capabilities. Obviously. Grixtel's red skin grew darker with rage. What else have we missed about these weak creatures? The reports were disturbing. Human ships had appeared at every major Talon military base across their empire. They had not attacked, but the message was clear. Earth could strike anywhere at any time. Worse, the humans had detailed information about Talon military secrets that should have been impossible to obtain. War Captain Thekmore's ships were not destroyed, reported the military advisor. The humans disabled them and sent our crews home with recordings of the battle. They want us to see how easily they defeated our forces. Grixtel studied the tactical recordings. The human ships moved like nothing he had seen before. They appeared from empty space without warning. Their weapons passed through Talon shields like they were not there. Their own shields stopped Talon weapons completely. This cannot be their full strength, he decided. They want us to think they are powerful, but they would not reveal everything in one battle. We will test them again. War leader, his intelligence chief said quietly. Perhaps we should consider the human warning. They said not to injure those under their protection. You think we should fear human words? Grixtel's voice was dangerous. I think we should be careful until we understand their capabilities better. Grixtel picked up a metal cup and threw it across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor. The Talon Empire does not retreat because of one lost battle. We will show these humans what real power looks like. 2 weeks later, Grixtel's plan was ready. A massive Talon battle. Fleet would attack New Busan colony again. This time, they would not give warnings or demand surrender. They would destroy everything to show the galaxy that the Talon Empire could not be intimidated. The humans think they can protect everyone, Grixtel told his commanders. We will show them that protection has limits. The new attack force had 200 ships instead of 5. They approached New Busan colony from multiple directions to prevent human reinforcements from arriving quickly. This time, Grixtel commanded the fleet personally. On New Busan, life had returned to normal after the first attack. Children went back to school, adults returned to work, and families rebuilt the damaged farms. Han Jae-sung worked longer hours to repair the mining equipment that Talon weapons had destroyed. The Kiltar families are still scared, Yoon Haiwan told her husband at dinner. Some want to leave the colony in case the Talons come back. Where would they go? Jae-sung asked. New Busan is their home now. 8-year-old Yuna looked up from her drawing. Teacher Kilneth says her people have nowhere else to go. She says humans are the only ones who help refugees. Dr. Kim So-jin had stayed on New Busan to continue her research. She also wanted to see how the colony recovered from the attack. The integration between humans and Kiltar has actually grown stronger, she reported to Earth. Shared danger created deeper bonds between the communities. Administrator Choi, Minisio received the warning at dawn. Long-range sensors detected 200 Talon ships approaching the system. This was 10 times larger than the first attack force. How long until they arrive? She asked. 16 hours, replied the communications officer. And administrator. They're not slowing down. No communication attempts. It looks like they plan to attack immediately. Minseo felt cold fear in her stomach. 200 ships meant the Talons were serious about destroying the colony this time. Send emergency signals to Earth. full evacuation protocols. Get everyone to the deepest shelters. But even as she gave the orders, Minseo knew the shelters would not be enough against 200 warships. If Earth could not send help in time, New Busan colony would be wiped out completely. Captain Park Jin-ho had remained on New Busan as part of the security detail. He coordinated the evacuation while sending tactical reports to Earth Command. Estimated time for Talon arrival, 14 hours. Estimated time for Earth reinforcements, unknown. In the school shelter, Haewon gathered her students around her. Human and Kiltar children sat together, some crying, others trying to be brave. "We're going to play a quiet game," she told them. "We need to stay very still and very quiet." Yuna raised her hand. "Teacher, are the bad ships coming back?" Haewon looked at the scared faces around her. She could not lie to them, but she could give them hope. "Yes, but remember what happened last time. Earth sent ships to protect us." "Will they come again?" asked Velka, Yuna's Kiltar friend. "I believe they will," Haewon said. "Humans protect their friends." 12 hours before the Talon fleet arrived, space began to twist near New Busan. But this time, only 30 human ships appeared. Admiral Song had sent Battle Group 7 again, but other groups were busy elsewhere in the galaxy. Colonel Lim Tae-hyun studied his tactical displays with concern. 30 ships against 200 was not good odds, even with superior technology. Signal Earth Command. Request immediate reinforcements. Response from Admiral Song, reported his communications officer. All other battle groups are engaged, in priority missions. We are on our own. Lim understood. Earth was sending messages to other alien species across the galaxy. They could not spare more ships to defend one colony, but 30 ships would have to be enough. When the Talon fleet arrived, they did not waste time with communication. Warlord Grixtal had learned from the first battle. His ships spread out to attack from all directions at once. They targeted the colony directly instead of fighting the human ships first. "All ships," Lim commanded. "Protect the colony. Ignore the ships attacking us. Save the civilians." The battle was intense and terrible. Human ships threw themselves between Talon weapons and the colony below. Their shields absorbed blast after blast meant for innocent families, but there were too many attackers coming from too many directions. Some Talon weapons got through. The elementary school shelter took a direct hit. The explosion tore through the underground rooms where children had been hiding. Haewon used her own body to shield her students from falling rocks and burning metal. Yuna and 12 other children died instantly when the roof collapsed. Haewon died 2 minutes later, her arms still wrapped around the children she had tried to save. The medical center was hit next. Kiltar families who had been helping human doctors treat the wounded were killed when the building collapsed. Old Kilnith, who had taught both human and alien children, died while carrying injured students to safety. Across the colony, Talon weapons destroyed homes, schools, hospitals, and parks. 3,000 people died in the first hour of bombing. Most were civilians. Many were children. Han Jae-sung dug through the wreckage of the school with his bare hands, calling for his wife and daughter. When he found them, both were already dead. Haewon's arms were still around Yuna, protecting her even in death. Captain Park Jin-ho coordinated rescue efforts while sending reports to Earth. His voice was steady, but his hands shook as he typed. Colony under massive bombardment. Civilian casualties in the thousands. Schools and hospitals targeted deliberately. Request immediate assistance. Admiral Song received the reports in his command center under Earth's moon. The words on the screen made his face go white with anger. Targeting military forces was one thing. Killing children in their schools was something else entirely. "All battle groups," he said into his communication system. "Change of mission. Return to Earth space immediately." "Sir?" Commander Bay looked surprised. "What about New Busan?" "New Busan will be avenged," Song said quietly. "But first, we need to prepare for war." The Talon attack continued for 6 hours. When it ended, New Busan colony was mostly ruins. 8,000 people were dead, including 2,000 children. The Kiltar refugee population was almost completely wiped out. Warlord. Grixtel looked at the destruction with satisfaction. Send recordings of this battle to every species in the galaxy, he ordered. Let them see what happens to those who trust human protection. But as the Talon fleet prepared to leave, they received an unexpected message. It came from Earth directly, broadcast on all emergency frequencies so every ship in the system could hear it. The voice belonged to Admiral Song. It was calm and quiet, but everyone who heard it felt ice in their veins. Warlord Grixtal of the Talon Empire, you have murdered children under Earth's protection. You have crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. We gave you one warning. You ignored it. Now you will learn why humans fought each other for thousands of years before we reached the stars. The message ended with 6 words that made even Talon warriors feel afraid. Earth declares war on the Talon Empire. Across the galaxy, every species that heard the message understood that something fundamental had changed. The humans had tried to be peaceful. They had offered warnings and shown restraint. That time was over. 6 months after the destruction of New Busan, Ambassador Lee Dong-wook stood in the same council chamber on Nexus Prime Station. But everything was different now. The Talon Empire no longer existed. Their red banners had been removed from the walls. Their representatives were gone forever. Lee looked older than before. His hair had turned gray at the temples, and his eyes carried a sadness that had not been there during his first visit. Behind him sat Dr. Kim So-jin, who had survived the New Busan massacre, and Admiral Song Kyung-min, who now commanded the largest military force in the galaxy. The alien delegates who had laughed at human warnings 6 months ago now sat in nervous silence. They had watched the systematic destruction of the Talon Empire with growing horror and amazement. The humans had not simply defeated their enemies, they had erased them from existence. Council leader Veltara's crystal body flashed deep blue, which meant she was deeply troubled. Ambassador Lee, the Council recognizes Earth's decisive response to Talon aggression. We gather today to discuss the new situation in the galaxy. Thank you, Council Leader, Lee said. His voice was quiet, but it carried clearly through the large chamber. Earth comes here today not as conquerors, but as protectors who have fulfilled their promises. Healer Zeph of the medical caste spoke first. His gray skin was paler than usual, and his large eyes showed fear. Ambassador, the galaxy has watched your war with the Talons. Your methods were thorough. Yes, Lee replied simply. They were. The destruction of the Talon Empire had been swift and complete. Admiral Song's fleets had appeared throughout Talon space simultaneously, using their skip drive technology to coordinate attacks across hundreds of star systems at once. But the humans had not simply destroyed military targets. Every Talon military base had been reduced to atoms. Every warship had been captured or destroyed. Every weapons factory had been dismantled. The Talon military simply ceased to exist in a matter of weeks. But civilians had been evacuated first. Talon families had been moved to safe worlds before. Their military installations were destroyed. Non-combatants were given food, medical care, and new homes far from the war zones. The Talon people still live, Admiral Song explained to the Council, but they live on worlds where they can farm and build peaceful lives. They no longer have the ability to make war on anyone. Commander Velshin of the Keth Collective spoke with their shared voice. You destroyed their entire civilization in 43 days. How did you accomplish this so quickly? Dr. Kim So-jin answered this question. The Talon Empire was built on conquest and military strength. When their military was removed, the empire collapsed naturally. We simply accelerated the process. What she did not mention was how thoroughly human intelligence had penetrated Talon society. Agents like Park Min-jun, Lee Hee-jin, and Kim Dae-ho had spent years mapping every important facility and learning every military secret. When the war began, humans knew exactly where to strike and how to avoid civilian casualties. The former Talon worlds are now under Earth's protection, Lee announced. We have established peaceful governments chosen by the people themselves. Former Talon citizens are learning to live without conquest and slavery. A new delegate spoke from the back of the chamber. This was Ambassador Park Yoon-ji, who represented the reformed Talon worlds. She was young and spoke with careful respect. The Council should know that Earth's occupation forces have been fair and helpful, she said. They brought food to hungry worlds, medicine to the sick, and teachers to help us learn peaceful ways of living. Many of my people are grateful to be free from Warlord Grixtal's brutal rule. Lee nodded to her. Earth keeps its promises to protect those under our care. This includes former enemies who choose peace. The chamber was quiet for a long moment. Then Healer Zeph asked the question everyone was thinking. What does Earth want from the rest of us? The same thing we wanted 6 months ago, Lee replied. To live in peace with our neighbors and protect those who cannot protect themselves. But now you have the largest fleet in the galaxy, pointed out a delegate from the Crystal Coalition. You could conquer any world you choose. Admiral Song stood up slowly. He was not a tall man, but his presence filled the room. We could, he said simply, but we will not. Humans do not seek conquest. We seek justice. How do we know you will not attack us if we displease you? Asked another delegate. Lee looked around the room at all the worried alien faces. Because we are telling you the same thing we told the Talons. We say it once, do not injure those under Earth's protection. If you leave our people and our allies alone, we will leave you alone. And if we do not? The question came from a Viridian sub-council member. Then you will discover why the Talon Empire no longer exists. Admiral Song said calmly. Dr. Kim So-jin presented her report to the council. Earth has established protection protocols for all refugee populations throughout the galaxy. Any species that offers sanctuary to displaced peoples will receive Earth support and protection. Any species that harms refugees will be treated as we treated the Talons. This was the new reality. Earth had become the galaxy's police force, but only for those who chose to be under their protection. They did not demand tribute or force others to follow human laws. They simply promised that those who harmed innocent people would face consequences. The Kiltar refugees have new homes on protected worlds, Lee added quietly. The survivors from New Busan are safe and rebuilding their lives. No other refugee population will face what they faced. After the formal council session ended, Lee walked to the memorial garden that had been built on Nexus Prime. Small stones carved with names covered the ground. These were the victims of New Busan, humans and Kiltar who had died under Talon bombardment. He found the stone for Han Yuna, the 8-year-old girl who had drawn pictures of alien flowers. Next to it was the stone for her mother, Yoon Hai-won, who had died protecting her students. Han Jae-sung stood nearby, placing fresh flowers on his family's memorial stones. He had become the administrator of the rebuilt New Busan colony. The new settlement was larger and stronger than before, with better defenses and a mixed population of humans, Kiltar, and other refugee species. Ambassador, Jae-sung said quietly, thank you for keeping your promise. I am sorry it took so long, Lee replied. You came when it mattered most. My wife and daughter. They believed humans protect their friends. They were right. As Lee returned to his ship, he thought about the changes in the galaxy. Fear had replaced laughter when aliens heard human warnings. But it was not the fear of tyrants. It was the fear of justice. Other species were learning to be more careful about how they treated their neighbors. Wars between alien civilizations had decreased dramatically. Refugee populations found willing hosts among species that wanted Earth's protection. Pirates and raiders discovered that attacking peaceful colonies brought swift and terrible retribution. The galaxy was becoming a more peaceful place, not because humans forced peace on everyone, but because the consequences of violence had become too severe to risk. Dr. Kim So-jin sent her final report to Earth that evening. The integration protocols are working across 47 star systems. Mixed populations of refugees and host species are creating stable, peaceful communities. War crimes have decreased by 83% in the past 6 months. What about resistance to our policies? Asked Admiral Song over the communication link. Minimal. Most species understand that Earth's protection is voluntary. We do not interfere with internal affairs or force cultural changes. We only respond to aggression against those under our protection. The message was clear throughout the galaxy. Earth would not conquer or rule, but they would protect. They had proved their strength against the Talon Empire. Now they proved their restraint by using that strength only when necessary. Ambassador. Park Yunji prepared her first independent diplomatic mission. The reformed Talon worlds wanted to establish trade agreements with other species. Many aliens were hesitant to trust former enemies, but Earth's guarantee of good behavior helped open doors. My people are learning that strength comes from building, not destroying, she told Lee before her departure. Earth taught us this lesson in a way we could not ignore. As Lee's ship left Nexus Prime, he received a message from the new administrator of New Busan Colony. Han Jae-sung was reporting that the rebuilt settlement was thriving. Human, Chiltar, and reformed Talon families were working together to create something better than what had been destroyed. The children play together in the schools, Jae-sung wrote. They draw pictures of flowers and ships and distant stars. They do not dream of conquest or war. They dream of exploring and building and discovering new things. Lee smiled for the first time in months. This was what protection meant, not just defending people from harm, but creating space for them to build better lives. The galaxy had learned that human warnings were not empty threats. They were promises backed by overwhelming force and unshakable resolve. When humans said they would protect someone, they meant it completely. But more importantly, the galaxy had learned that human protection came with human values. Strength was used only in defense of the innocent. Victory was followed by mercy and reconstruction. Former enemies could become friends if they chose peace over war.